Mercedes surprised after first on-track experience. So we're gonna be going through that and 5 other stories in today's video. So make sure to like this video, and if you want more Mercedes news content like this, make sure to subscribe to the channel hitting that red button down below. The first story is Hamilton surprised after Mercedes W14 hits the track at Silverstone. Mercedes were quick to run their new F1 Challenger after revealing it to the world earlier this week, heading out onto the Silverstone circuit for some additional pre-season running. Fresh from pulling the covers off the W14 on Wednesday morning, the team gave George Russell the honor of debuting it on track with a handful of exploratory laps. Then, on Thursday, Mercedes used up one of their 2 permitted filming days for the season, allowing both Russell and teammate Lewis Hamilton some time in the car before preseason testing at the Bahrain International Circuit next week. Despite wet conditions at the British Grand Prix venue and the squad being limited to a combined total of 100 kilometers of the national layout, Hamilton was left feeling encouraged by his first experience in Mercedes' latest creation. "It has been great to get up and running with the W14. It is always a much anticipated moment for everyone at the factory that has been working so hard. I'm incredibly grateful for all the effort that has gone in," said the 7-time world champion. "The day has been smooth. We got through a good program, and we've come away with some useful findings. I generally felt comfortable in the car, and I'm excited to get going in Bahrain." Russell added, "It's great to get on track with the W14. It was very cold and greasy out there, but the car ran smoothly, and we completed all the laps we are permitted to do. We know preseason testing in Bahrain will be the first real test of the car. Nevertheless, it looks great out on circuit, and the feeling from within the car is so far so good." Mercedes trackside engineering director Andrew Shovlin also reported a solid start as the team looked to get back to regular winning ways and become title contenders again with their 2023 machine. "Conditions weren't great for filming or running, but we completed the permitted 100 kilometers without any issues, and both drivers have been able to give us a good assessment of their first impressions of the car," he commented. "Bahrain will be very different to a cold, wet Silverstone, but everything seems to be working well. Hopefully we can hit the ground running next week and maximize the 3 days of preseason testing that we have." The second story is Lewis Hamilton and George Russell dynamic faces cutthroat challenge at Mercedes in 2023. Mercedes avoided any real on-track battle between George Russell and Lewis Hamilton last season, largely due to the team's inability to challenge for race wins. It was a year to forget for Mercedes in 2022 as the team began the season on the back foot due to their ongoing porpoising issues. The first few months of the season were largely spent making major changes to the car and trying to find the sweet spot, but each race weekend brought new challenges. It wasn't until the final few races that the team closed the gap to Ferrari and Red Bull, with Russell taking Mercedes' only win of the season in Sao Paulo ahead of Hamilton, whose race was compromised after a collision with Max Verstappen. There is more optimism about Mercedes returning to the front of the grid on a regular basis in 2023, potentially pipping Russell and Hamilton against each other in a championship battle. Hamilton and Russell appeared to strike up a friendly relationship at Mercedes in their first year together. That could be put to the test this year if Mercedes are able to battle at the front of the grid on a regular basis. And Blundell isn't too sure whether Russell has the cutthroat nature in him to go against team orders should Mercedes ask him to step aside for Hamilton in a race if the young Brit is still involved in a title battle. "I don't see that at the moment in George Russell, but I don't know him that well," he told Planet F1. "But you know, from the outside looking in, he seems an incredibly nice guy and doesn't seem to have that little edge to him. But, you know, we're talking about putting him in the situation where we see whether that decision is going to get taken, and to date, he's not quite been in that situation to make that decision. That's going to be the interesting point. You know, if he's 15, 16 races into a championship and he's leading it, is he going to start to get cutthroat and carve out a niche for himself inside the team, and Lewis is going to be sitting there, you know, wondering what's going on? We're going to have to wait and see whether that develops. But yeah, I don't think the decision has had to be made by him yet on that side. So that's something that we're going to all watch and see how it pans out." The new season gets underway next week in Bahrain, with preseason testing taking place this weekend. Teams have a far more limited time on track this year as opposed to 2022 to gather as much data as possible heading into the season opener. The third story is Mercedes has Plan B car ready if issues persist. While Mercedes has kept their zero sidepod philosophy for 2023 and believe they have sorted their problems that stemmed from the W13, the team has a Plan B car on standby if they persist. Mercedes has a Plan Plan B car on standby should their problems from the W13 persist with their 2023 Challenger. The team has elected to keep the zero side pod philosophy for the W14 with some tweaks to the air duct design around the engine cover. It was an encouraging vote of confidence in their car design from Mercedes, given the problems that led to nearly a winless season in 2022. However, according to Sky Sports F1 analyst Ted Kravitz, Mercedes has another car concept that is more in line with the design of Red Bull that it can introduce midway through the season if their issues from last season still persist. They're giving their big idea, which was a failure last year, one more go, but I believe they have a plan B in production, said Kravitz. If they need to, they can go to a plan B, which is the Red Bull or Ferrari style of doing things, in the middle of the season. Mercedes already denied rumors that the first laps of the W14 were hampered with technical issues when it was ran during a shakedown at Silverstone. The team believes it has a proper handle on what went wrong with the W13 last season, according to Kravitz, but it is not expecting to see a massive leap in performance out of the box. He continued, "These rules are what they are for a few years yet, so they've got to get it right at some point. But at the moment they're saying, look, we think we've got a proper handle on what went wrong last year. We still think our way, which is unique in the pit lane. Having very slim side pods is the way to go aerodynamically." Most of the Toto Wolff has explained why Mercedes' troublesome 2022 F1 car is set to take pride of place in the team's lobby. The W13 proved to be a challenge for the squad, with the car facing issues such as porpoising throughout a difficult season for the Silver Arrows. Wolff had previously joked about storing the vehicle far back in the team's collection of successful Formula One cars, but has since decided that he would prefer the 2022 model to be on display at the outfit's headquarters to encourage staff to be bold. "It's going to go in the lobby," Wolff told media, including RacingNews365.com, at the launch of Mercedes' 2023 Challenger. "But I've changed my approach a little bit because I wanted to put it in the lobby as a reminder that you must not rest on your laurels. But actually, I want to place it in the lobby because it is a symbol of boldness for me and courage. We took a radical design direction last year. We dared and we failed. So for me, that shows a lot about the mindset of team, how it is important to cope with success or failure at the same time. I wouldn't want us to go in any shape or form conservative in the future. I want us to take calculated risk and be bold." The fourth story is Lewis Hamilton helping to choose Brad Pitt co-star for new F1 film. Lewis Hamilton says he is in the process of selecting Brad Pitt's co-star for the F1 film he will help to produce. The as yet unnamed film will be co-produced by Hamilton and Jerry Bruckheimer and directed by Joseph Kosinski, who was behind the latest Top Gun movie. Shooting is set to begin later this year, with the plot revolving around a veteran driver played by Pitt who mentors a rising F1 star. At the launch of Mercedes' 2023 F1 car, Hamilton revealed he is currently helping to choose who would co-star alongside the Hollywood icon. "We're going through a process right now of selecting the character that will be alongside Brad, which is exciting," Hamilton said. "Basically, that's the process of watching. We have recordings of them doing certain scenes and we got through it. I have sat in the office with Jerry and Joe and Brad, and we've been watching them and kind of given our inputs and what we think." The seven-time world champion is focused on representation and said he would love to see a female driver in the film. "I want to make the movie in terms of like having diversity and representation. I want it to be as Formula One should be in the future, or should be now, but will be in the future," Hamilton said. "I want to see female mechanics. We would love to see a female driver. We haven't gotten to that point just yet, but why not? Right now, we've still got the script. We've gone through quite a few different iterations of it. We're still waiting for a new rewrite, and that's the whole process. But I was doing that throughout Christmas. It's exciting. I'm excited to get the next end of the script. I was talking to Brad last night about the characters that we have coming. Apple TV have acquired the rights for the new movie at a cost of $140 million. The fifth story is F1 should allow 2 cars in winter testing, says Russell. Preseason F1 testing was reduced from 6 to 3 days for 2021, with just 3 test days in Bahrain instead of 2 3-day tests in Barcelona. For 2022, winter testing expanded to 6 days again, a one-off concession so teams could get more time to trial their brand new machinery following a major rule change. But this year the number of days has been limited to 3 once again, with testing taking place from Thursday to Saturday this week in Bahrain, the venue of the 2023 season opener. That means each driver will only get 1.5 days to get up to speed with the new cars, a figure which Mercedes driver and GPDA chairman Russell thinks is insufficient. Personally speaking, I don't think 3 days is enough, because you have got to remember from a driver's perspective, that is 1.5 days per driver. We were fortunate to do the last week, but had we not, that that would have been getting on for 12 weeks out of the car from Abu Dhabi to Bahrain. Could you imagine Rafael Nadal spending 12 weeks without hitting a ball and then going straight into the French Open with 1.5 days of training? You know, it just wouldn't ever happen. Testing was reducing to save money and reduce the workload on teams, but Russell suggested teams could start testing with 2 cars so that both drivers could get 3 days under their belt while still sticking to a single test event. I understand and recognize why we do that. I think 3 days with 2 cars would probably be a good place to be, he argued, and I think that would probably be the best compromise for all of the reasons why we're trying to limit it, but right now 1.5 days per driver I think is too few.